Known for his convictions, absolutism, and his smell, Rorschach is a fundamental character in Watchmen. Today we are going to find out which line from Watchmen reveals the most about him.
And he's been identified as Walter Kovacs, a 35-year-old white male. Little's yet known about Kovacs, but he was...
In the movie Watchmen, the main protagonist is Walter Kovacs, also known as Rorschach. He's known as Rorschach not just to us, the readers, but even the cops who encounter him on a regular basis. Why do they encounter him on a regular basis, you ask? It's because he's a superhero who refuses to retire. Keep this in mind, it'll make sense later. Kovacs was born in 1940 to a woman who was abandoned by the father of her child 2 months before she gave birth. Sometime afterward, his mom, who was in a low economic lifestyle, turned to sex work. Kovacs grew up unwanted.
I should have had that abortion!
As an adult, Rorschach is a 45-year-old who lives the same economic lifestyle, minus the prostitution. He still holds a grudge about it. He has no job, doesn't pay rent, and is basically homeless. The one thing he has is Rorschach. Rorschach is a superhero that won't retire, so obviously the name itself, Rorschach, points to living a dual life. Rorschach was part of the Crime Busters, but in 1977 the government passed a law prohibiting any masked vigilantes. Everyone disbanded but Rorschach. In Watchmen, Rorschach is the glue that keeps them all together, from our perspective at least. He's an absolutist, believing profoundly in correcting evil. This is the most popular aspect of him. Rorschach is known for his convictions. And there's a line that tells us more than just this. In the graphic novel, but not the movie, we find little paper clippings or written momentums from each character, typically from their past. Rorschach's convictions are from the past too. The most telling lines about Kovacs are right from his childhood writings. I have 2 parents, although actually I don't have any. I never see my mom, but that's okay, although I would like to see my dad sometimes. I've never met my dad, and I would sure like to. He had to leave our house when I wasn't even born. I guess because he couldn't get along with my mother. I would have done the same if I was him. I used to ask my mom about my dad, but she doesn't talk much about him. His name was Charlie, which is short for Charles, although it has the same number of letters. She says she doesn't know his second name, although how can you live with somebody if you don't know who they are? It is just stupid. My mom told me she threw my dad out because he was always getting into political arguments with her because he liked President Truman and she didn't. I think perhaps my dad was some sort of aide to President Truman because he liked him so much. Most probably he was out of the country during the war when I was growing up on some sort of mission. I think he was the kind of guy who would fight for his country and what was right. Maybe he got killed fighting the Nazis and he's with God now, and that's how come he never managed to find me. I like President Truman, the way Dad would have wanted me to. He dropped the atom bomb on Japan and saved millions of lives because if he hadn't have, then there would have been a lot more war than there was and more people would have been killed. I think it was a good thing to drop the atomic bomb on Japan. That is all I have to say about my parents. This letter tells us something about Rorschach, and not just that he despises women. It's that his convictions are regressive. Lori is hellbent in her convictions too, but hers are more dedicated to the moment and navigating what's to come, whereas Rorschach's convictions are dedicating to restoring some sort of balance between conflicts of the past and the present. It's almost through a dedication of a previous worldview that he vows to eliminate any possibilities in the moment. Was my dad actually a good guy? Was my mom the result of a forced situation? Is it the fear of navigating possibilities of a rectifying future that bring about such loyalty to my past or initial concepts? This depth of conviction came young, and it's been his life philosophy of executing on his beliefs, but he executes backwards, not forwards. It's a regression either deeper into his internal world or a previous point in time when something worked.
Never compromise. Not even in the face of Armageddon.
And with each execution of this regression, he becomes more and more disillusioned with the present moment, which leads to the present never being good enough or the illusion that evil is dominant in the present world. Overall, Rorschach's convictions are admirable, just they go the wrong way, and his absolute worldview is askew due to this faulty direction.